All right, this week on the show, we are going to be fearlessly questioning Seeing the Future with Ben Fisher. He is the founder of Steady Demand, a company that is primarily focused on Google Plus and helping businesses kind of manage their presence on there, if you will. And it's very strange. I'm going to tell the story a little bit of how Ben came on the show. So, right before we launched the show, doing some kind of work to kind of create awareness for it, and Ben reached out and said, "Hey, I want to be on." And I said, "Great, Ben, I'd love to have you on." I met Ben actually prior to that in person out at Social Media Marketing World for a quick minute, and got to talk with him and a couple members of his team, and met obviously some of the people that he has now brought on to Steady Demand's team as well. But he really didn't remember me from that, which is strange. So he just reached out and said, "Hey, I like what you're doing. I think this looks interesting. I would like to fearlessly question." And I said, "Hey, sure, why not?" And he invited me to a hangout. It was on a Friday night, I believe, and it was a pretty extensive hangout. I got to know Ben quite well in the hangout. Nothing strange happened for all of you at home. It was a lot of fun, and I got to kind of hear Ben's backstory and really, for anybody that I don't have anything picked out now. If you've followed the show at all for any length of time, I usually like to pick up something, a thread, a deeper thread on things than just what somebody might normally talk about. Their normal shtick, if you will. I like to usually go one or two rungs deeper. And I mean, I was aware of Ben. I didn't have anything. Nothing stood out to me. And anybody that's expressed interest in being on the show, I said, well, that's great. I don't have anything that I can think of right now. Can we hop on a quick hangout to, kind of find something? Just kind of let me, let's just talk about it a little bit and see what we find. And, initially what I wanted to do, I wanted to fearlessly question, Ben about was putting all of your eggs in somebody else's basket. And it was a bit of a long title, but that was centered around his, idea to build a company specifically focused in Google Plus. And if Google Plus goes away, then, well, his business goes away. But after kind of talking about that a little bit and kind of talking to Ben, I came up with Seeing the Future. And I think you'll see why in Ben's rant, which will be coming up here very shortly. So come back to that tomorrow. And you'll kind of hear a little bit of a story about how he sees the future, how he kind of approaches things. But it's our ability to, I think there's two people. I don't know how many people sit in the middle on this, but there's people that don't look into the future at all. They don't really want any part of it. They're just kind of comfortable living in the present or living, with what they can, kind of see currently, and they don't want to apply too much thought to what's coming next. And there are other people that want to constantly just apply, what's coming next to everything and to live there. And that's kind of where I'm at. Once I see the future of something, I just want to go live there. I don't have any interest of what's happening right now. It's just, okay, this is where things are going to go. So let's just hang out there and stop wasting our time back here. Obviously, very challenging, definitely on a lot of fronts, for the people that you may associate with. And I'm curious to find out, who you are. Are you somebody that is constantly looking into the future and wanting to live there, or are you somebody that is comfortable just kind of staying put and when it gets here, it gets here? Obviously, I guess you could say those are the early adopters. And there's a whole chart of, I can't remember the different breakdowns. I should have looked this up before I started recording, but I don't feel like stopping this. I'm not going to stop it to go look that up. But whatever those people are, they're not late adopters, but they just kind of go with the flow, and when it gets to them, it gets to them. The questions is, should you be looking to look into the future a little bit more? Would you be better served to take just kind of peek over top of where you're at and look over that wall to see what's coming, see what's out there? And to those that, like me, who want to live out there permanently outside those walls, well, should we be taking a step back and saying, whoa, hold on a second here. Maybe we're a little early on this thing. Maybe we need to just take a break, pump the brakes a little bit, and do something else, or dial it back a little bit. And I think that's what Ben's going to get into a lot, and we're going to get into. And that's something I struggle with, because now this is, again, telling a little bit of my own story. Is right out of college, I had worked for the college radio station. I had a lot of fun doing radio. I don't know why. I was never all that outgoing in school. I never liked talking in front of people, but for whatever reason, I enjoyed doing a radio show. And when that was over, I wanted to give myself another outlet. I wanted to create another outlet for that to continue. And I did the next logical thing because I couldn't get a job at a radio station. I tried a couple times, interviewed for a couple different places. But the next best thing, I started my own internet radio station. Bought a whole licensing package with a company. It was called Live 365, I believe. I think they're still around. But it just gave you the rights to basically play whatever music you wanted to online. People could tune in and listen. Created a whole website around that, and it gave you the ability to broadcast live and do live shows. So I basically I got a friend of mine, and we just basically did our college radio show again on this new platform. It was called, if anybody that's hung around and still knows me from those days, it was called Sawkick Radio. I won't go into the story of why it was called Sawkick Radio, but the site was sawkick.com, and it was a lot of fun, and it was just a big experiment. The radio station only lasted a year because I was kind of stuck into a contract paying monthly for that, and obviously after a year I didn't have any kind of advertising revenue or anything to kind of continue, justify keeping it going. So we basically just stripped the music out and said we're just going to do podcasts. And then we did podcasts, and then that turned into, actually writing articles and doing album reviews and doing interviews with bands and things like that. And all of this tied to my ultimate goal of being a professional musician, strangely enough. As you can see the guitar there hanging on the wall for those of you watching the video to this. But, that was me seeing the future. And internet radio, this was even before Pandora. Pandora was probably a year or so away. It just had come out, I think maybe 8 months after I had started this. And so Pandora wasn't even a thing. And that, if Pandora wasn't a thing, Spotify wasn't even thought of at that time. So the idea of, I still to this day, the idea of having somebody, kind of say, listen, I like this. This is some music I like. There's just something natural and organic that I really like about that. I love being able to share music that I was into. Similar to the way that we share things that we like online now. There was something that was, I guess, embarrassingly appealing to me, and I can't get over it. I guess really just a quick aside here, we were creating, on that internet radio station, there was a program that we used to kind of DJ the thing, to set on autopilot when we weren't doing live shows. And we actually created what we called a Levels of Rock. And this was kind of a Pandora-ish attempt, right? Like I said, literally right before Pandora came out. I was so upset when Pandora came out because I was kind of already just playing around with this. Obviously, Pandora was probably in development way before I came up with this idea. But the Levels of Rock was the idea to take somebody that was listening to the station, because we had a wide variety of music that we liked. From very laid back indie rock to pretty heavy metal. So so like a band like Cake, you would start at Cake and then you'd go all the way to, let's say, a Metallica, or a System of a Down was obviously very popular at the time. But basically, it would progress you through those different those different levels, those different intensities of the music, and to kind of allow one to be a gateway to another. And it was that idea of, if we could experience and have somebody enjoy that experience of creating that journey of learning the different levels. So we went through, this was ridiculous. Me and, again, my co-host for the show. It's actually amazing that I ended up marrying somebody and having an actual life. But we spent probably a week and a half, 2 weeks, just listening to literally every song that we wanted to play on the station, and ranking it and giving it a level and having it go through that progression. And it worked. It was a lot of fun, to actually see it happen. So when we programmed the software to do that, it was pretty interesting to actually sit back and listen to it. I can't remember how many songs in each level until we got to the next, but it was really cool once we got it working. That was a lot of fun. I honestly don't even know where I was going with this, but I guess that was me seeing the future. I guess, yeah, we're talking about seeing the future. That was me trying to see the future, and nobody could really listen to these stations outside of on their desktop, and smartphones were barely in existence at the time. I know I didn't have one then. The iPhone wasn't even around, so I mean it was way too early. It was way too early, and I was upset that so again, social media wasn't even out. Facebook didn't exist. MySpace was the thing. I was growing the thing on MySpace. I mean, even just saying the word MySpace is just gets you slapped. I mean, I feel like somebody's going to pop out and slap me right now from somewhere. But that's what I used. And then, about that time, it was about a 3 to 4 year period that I, kind of went through all of these different things through the radio station, through the podcast, through the interviews, through the articles, and, covering local, regional, national bands and things like that. And, outside of advertising, which I obviously was not good at selling, I had no way to monetize. And ultimately, my girlfriend at the time, now wife, was, a little tired of waiting around for that to happen. So I saw the future too far ahead. Now podcasting is at the cusp of being something that is, going to be widely accepted and going to be push and play in a lot of cars very soon. Even still, it is a little bit of a process for somebody like probably your mom or your dad to listen to it if they're not all that technically savvy. Even still, it's a little bit of work. So obviously, I kind of look at the Hangouts being in that same vein, and just the idea of looking forward into the future on these things. And it's, if you get too far out into the future, it just becomes unprofitable, I guess, at some point, and it just becomes a thing of passion for you, and you're just doing it to do it for fun because it is fun. And part of me is well, our Hangouts where podcasts were back when I'm doing them. Am I repeating history by doing a Hangout show where Hangouts are probably 5-6 years away from fully taking off like podcasts are? I don't know. I mean, obviously this is available on podcast too, so I'm double dipping, I guess. I'm hedging my bet. I'm learning from my mistakes. Is it possible to see too far out in the future? Do you need to kind of gauge yourself along the way every now and then? And how much trouble can you get into if you don't? Obviously, I just shared a pretty detailed example of a failure of mine that obviously it failed miserably. I mean, I had probably at any point in time I had 5 to 10 people involved in that project, just donating their resources, their writing, their doing shows, and I mean, thinking about it now, I mean the size that it was for what it was kind of weird, but it was kind of crazy. And then it just slowly dwindled as people slowly didn't see the promise fulfilled. It didn't grow. It didn't start generating money. The audience was there a little bit, but obviously not enough to keep them involved. And one by one, even one of my best friends, my co-host through college, our college show, and through the show the whole time, eventually to where it was just me. And then I was faced with the decision of, do I keep it going? And at that time, I had just gone into the family's business of selling health insurance, and can I justify keeping that going to the level that it was at, and while still dedicating this to this new job, to my family's company. And I obviously just shut it down, and the site isn't even actually live anymore. And that's probably my biggest regret, is that I didn't keep the site up for whatever reason. There was a lot of fun stuff that, I don't know. But that's my experience seeing the future. And now this is my kind of second attempt at my learning from that failure. That's what I'm doing here with Fearlessly Questioning, because, like I said, it was just, I wanted someplace to do that. So if you relate to that story, if you have your own story of how you saw the future and failed, I'd like to hear it. Feel free to leave a comment wherever you're finding this. Feel free to shoot me an email directly, joey@fearlesslyquestioning.com. I would love to hear your story of how you saw the future and failed, or your story of how you can't see the future, how you've never really thought to see the future, and why it makes you uncomfortable. Let me hear that. So feel free, get in touch with me. I'd be interested to hear what you have to say, because it's something that I'm very passionate about. I have a lot of experience with, and it really sucks when it doesn't work. So, but we'll be back with Ben. And that's going to be, let me check the date real quick. That's going to be Thursday, of course, October 23rd, and that will be at 2 o'clock Eastern Time. So feel free to come back, talk with Ben. As always, if you do want to ask Ben a question directly, you're more than welcome to join us live and ask a question in the event page. Use the hashtag camera ready to let me know that you're actually going to be decent and you have the equipment to actually come on the show and ask Ben the question. Really just want to give you the direct access, the face-to-face access that I have to these people to get your own questions asked so they know who you are. So, I mean, put yourself out there, get on the show, put your face in front of these people that could potentially lead you to seeing your own future, a different future that you might not have seen before. And of course, lastly, just a shameless plug to help this show grow. And I don't ask for this often. I'm terrible at remembering to do this, but I'm remembering today. If you enjoy the show at all, if you want to help support the show at all, the only thing that, really the best thing that you could do for the show right now is to go over to iTunes or to a lesser extent Stitcher and leave a rating or a review. I've been telling you to leave a fearless question of your own there to see what happens, but just let me know. That is what is going to signal to iTunes, to Stitcher, that this is a show that they should be featuring, that they should be exposing to more people. And the more people that are exposed to it, the more things that we can do, the more fun that we can have with it, and the more fearless questions that we can ultimately ask, and to bigger people as well. And obviously, that's something that is very exciting to me. I don't know if it's exciting to you, but if it is, just head over there to iTunes and leave us a review. I'll have a couple links below the post here. If you want to get to the post on the site, it's fearlesslyquestioning.com/ this will be 15-1. So fearlesslyquestioning.com 15-1. And of course, any show that you want to get to on the site, it's fearlesslyquestioning.com the number of the show, which is, so we've 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 15. And then each week we have 3 installments of that show. So my shows, our one-on-one time here, that's 1. So it's 15-1. The guest's rant for the week Ben's will be 15-2. And the actual live, the full-on conversation, the full-on half-hour fearless questioning would be 15-3. So if you want to get to any show, just the number of the show and 1, 2, or 3, whichever part you're looking for, will get you there. So I will go ahead and get out of here. Hope to be hearing from you. Again, Joey at fearlesslyquestioning.com. Would love to hear your stories on this and just see exactly if anybody else is struggling with this or has had a similar experience. I'm out of here. I will catch you guys this Thursday. I'm Joey Giangola. Take it easy, everyone.